The first fruits is all of the Christian faithful in the New Testament times. The first fruits of a much larger harvest when more people get saved later. And of course, this is not speaking literally. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being married. In fact, if you're an elder, it's normal that you would be married, the husband of one wife. So Paul never, ever condemned physical marriage. He himself was not married, but that was his choice. So here we're talking about a spiritual defilement with spiritual wickedness, obviously. Much in the book of Revelation has this symbolic language. We know that a beast is not literally a beast, it's an evil power. We know that there's lots of symbolic language. However, you can get carried away with that too. Earthquakes in the Bible mean earthquakes. They don't mean political revolutions. There is symbolism, but it is generally explained in the context, and that would be a good example then of a spiritual defilement. They are not then taken in to the error of the religious system which dominates the world, because Satan is the god of this present system. He has the entire world in his grip, 1 John 5:18. So that's an easy one. It would have to be anybody who's defiled spiritually, obviously. The 144,000 are certainly not just men. There are 144,000 people drawn from the tribes of Israel and also from the rest of the nations of the world. And they are said in Revelation 7:14 to be those who came out of the future great tribulation. The one thing you cannot have now, tell your friends at the door, your Jehovah's Witness friends, it's impossible for anybody to be a member of the 144,000 now, because they are defined as those who will come out of the great tribulation that hasn't happened yet. So it's a picture of the future. These people are being refined for God. That's what tribulation does. It refines the character. It tests us further to see if we're worthy of the kingdom of God to which we're invited. And that's going to happen then in the great tribulation, as Revelation 7:14. And they're not just men, of course not. No. So the whole thing is spiritual language, non-literal, figurative language, perfectly appropriate in the book of Revelation, although not everything is a figure, because you can go wild on figures of speech and nothing means anything anymore. So you have to choose carefully. 12 times 12 is a perfect number of foundation. 12 is the number of foundation, 12 apostles, and you know that. 12 times 12 is a super number. Literally, I would think so. I don't know how you possibly know if it isn't. But these are drawn from the tribes of what I would now call literal Israel, Jewish people, we call them. Where they are exactly is unknown to me. Obviously, some of them in the Middle East, I don't know. I don't get into that. Wherever they are chosen and refined through the Great Tribulation. And in addition, a great deal of Chinese and Brits and Americans and other nations who will have been through the testing of the Great Tribulation. Not everybody has to go through that. The Philadelphia church in Revelation 3 is going to be spared from the time of Great Tribulation. They don't need to be tried and refined anymore. They've already pleased God to the extent of being fit members of the royal family going to rule with Christ on the earth when he comes back. And the natural way to read that would be ethnic Jews, because they're selected from the tribes. I mean, who in the world would Ephraim be if not Ephraim? There's no reason to go metaphorical or figurative on those words. So you pick and choose from the tribes, wherever the tribes are. And I don't get into it. I don't know. That's an ethnic question. We'll leave the ethnologists to decide. I don't think particularly the 10 tribes in the West. They could be. It doesn't matter. What matters is that we understand that there is a future great tribulation. And if you need to be tried and tested, you will be put through it. Others who do not need to be so tested and tried can escape in their own countries. If you're in Israel, you're to flee to the mountains. And you pray it's not on a Sabbath, not because you're keeping the Sabbath, but because in Israel, the Sabbath day is an external impediment to fleeing. Or in the winter, it's more difficult. So you pray that your flight would not be on Saturday, not because you're keeping the Sabbath, because if you were, you'd be going back under the law of Moses, and that is strictly forbidden in Colossians 2.